When you were a child or even a teen, what did you imagine your future home looking like and your life inside of that home? Did you have any thoughts or visions of what that might look like?
Yeah, I had this family. I was a junior living in Tumwater, and something that I would do, I'd always kind of adopt myself into a family that I felt had a really good structure. Uh, they were doing nice things. Their homes were clean. Had jobs. They were doing normal life, and I would hang out with them. But in particular, there's one family in Tumwater, and the mom's name was Debbie, and Debbie and John, and they had two daughters, and it was just such a beautiful family. And they went boating and made chicken salad sandwiches on croissants, and I'd never had that in my entire life, and thought that was just really amazing. But they had this family tradition every Saturday morning where they would get up and they would clean their house together. And so I'd stay the night at her house, my friend's house, all the time, and I'd get up and I'd help them with this family tradition of chores. And then they would get to go have fun and do that together. But their home was bright and had big ceilings, and it was clean and it was fresh and it was new. And the family argued, and they had arguments, and it was normal. It wasn't this, Brady Bunch or whatever, everybody's happy and perfect, type thing. It was literally that they still fought, and they still had things, and there were still rules, and there were still kids being grounded. But I loved it. I loved that. And I wanted that so bad. And so when I think of as a teenager, what I thought my family and life would look like, it was that. And I think that I've accomplished that. I live in a home that I'm super proud of and reminds me of that time, and trying to have a family like Debbie and John.
Moving on to a little bit later in life, you kind of touched on it already, but when you moved out on your own in your teen, maybe early 20s, what was that experience like, moving out for the first time?
So back to Aberdeen. Aberdeen was a really sad place for me. My senior year, I just needed out of that place. So I packed my car up as soon as I graduated, and literally had a dresser hanging out the trunk, tied down, and moved out of the home that I was living in with my mom, and moved to Des Moines, Washington, and moved in with my dad and his family for a couple of months, maybe a month and a half, and enrolled in a community college, and literally the quintessential flyer on the board with a little tear off piece of paper, roommate wanted. And it was this gal who was looking for a roommate and was attending the college. And so I tore off a little paper and called her and went and looked at her apartment. She had a 2-bedroom apartment, and I got a job and rented my own place. So as soon as I could get out of the house, I was out of the house, living on my own. I definitely felt the sense of freedom and not being scared, and the freedom of being able to control my life. And so the first feelings that I have of moving out and being on my own was not like this wild freedom of I'm gonna go stay up late and do whatever, because I had the freedom to do that. I could come and go. Nobody cared about what I was doing. It wasn't like I had to be home or had curfew. There was no rules like that. But to have the freedom to not be afraid of getting beat by your parent, and living in that, and knowing that I can just be me, and I can have friends, and I could have friends over to my house without the fear of they're gonna see the truth. There was always that curtain that was up before I moved out on my own. So moving out on my own was amazing. Then after I had a roommate, really getting into having my own place, I lived with my cousin for a little while. We got a house together and had lots of fun, lots of memories and stories there, and a couple other roommates. And then I wanted to live on my own, and so I got my own apartment in Seattle, near Green Lake, and had a really great job downtown Seattle, and just really enjoyed being single, being on my own, having my own apartment, doing my own dishes all the time, not having somebody else's stuff in the way, and just really living on my own was really a self, journey of really finding myself and really understanding what it was that I wanted in life. And so I grew a lot in that year in Seattle by myself. So
How old were you?
I know I was 21. But yeah, 22 probably.
What was that first apartment like? Take us through
Which first apartment?
The first one you had on your own. What was that like? I mean,
with the roommate?
No, not with the roommate.
The
With you
one
by
on my
yourself.
own.
Yeah. How did you keep it? Was it clean all the time?
Yeah,
what was the decorations like?
It was this studio apartment in Green Lake, just south of the zoo. Whatever street that is, but literally like across the street was the zoo. So I could hear like animals and stuff at night. But I would go run around Green Lake, and I was working out and feeling great about myself. And anyways, but it was a little studio apartment in a secured building, probably like maybe 8, 9, 10 floors, a parking garage under the building, secure access. So I felt like super cool. Had my really cool Toyota, brand new. I felt really proud that I had a brand new car, was living in a brand new apartment building, like first one in, like I said, it was a studio apartment, but it was super clean and cute. And I got all the trendy IKEA furniture, and had a little computer desk and a bed, and yeah, it was really awesome. Lived close to Ballard and would drive over there to Ballard and do shopping, and it just felt like I was living a dream life, like one that I had imagined, and there I was living it. It was really cool.
How did you choose that area specifically, or that place?
It was easy to get to from the company that I was working at, just straight down 99. Like literally the apartment was on Aurora Avenue and whatever cross street that would be at the zoo or whatever. But yeah, probably just I went to the Seattle Times and was looking for the cheapest apartment that I could, and I was living in Burien at the time, and then moved to Green Lake.
What about your work or your career at that point? Where were you working, coming from living with your family, for instance, and then moving into your, going to college and moving into a place with a roommate? Where were you working at that time? And did that change from the time you moved out with that roommate to your own? Did you have a change in jobs and career?
Yeah. So back to my police explorer days, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a police officer. That was through and through my desire. I was gonna go find kids like me and see what was happening and help them. And so I wanted to go be the rescue person for kids. So anyways, so I lived in small towns. The police department, was fine, and it was easy, and wasn't a ton of crime. I was in Olympia when I was doing the Explorer program, and it was good. And so then I moved to Des Moines in the Seattle area, go to community college, take my law enforcement classes and all my prereqs, and just didn't like Seattle so much. I was working in Tukwila at like a camera shop, developing film and selling cameras, and that was the job that I had, and going to college and had roommates. And then my cousin, my wonderful cousin that's like a sister, she got me an interview for a company in Seattle as a front desk phone answerer, file clerk extraordinaire. And I interviewed with this wonderful, wonderful lady, and she gave me the job and sent me to a whole bunch of classes on Microsoft Excel and Word and Publisher, and really invested in me and saw some potential in me. And so worked there for several years and moved up to more administrative type work. And so that's what I was doing. I ditched the whole law enforcement, aspect of career. I was already making more money as an administrative assistant type person, working in the HR department and, filing and doing job stuff. And so I wasn't going to take a pay cut to go be a police officer. So, and I was kind of moved on past that. So I had like a professional job, wore professional clothes, and worked in a downtown Seattle company. And yeah, just really changed and shifted. I'm so thankful. I still to this day, when I run into people from that first boss that hired me, that know her, I tell the story about how grateful I am to her for hiring me and giving me a chance. So I think that really set me in a professional career that I may not have gotten to do.
You willing to share the name of the company?
Sure. Yeah. My cousin Michelle worked at McKinstry Company in Seattle forever and ever. Amen. And she had a very good reputation. And so for her to recommend me to even interview was really amazing. She didn't just send everybody to the company, but she believed and knew what I was capable of. And then Karen Finistad was my very first boss. And yeah, she was just super sweet and nice and knew that I didn't know a lot, but knew that I was willing to put in the work and really try hard. And so she gave me my very first job as a professional.